Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the March 12th, 2018 Montgomery County Commission meeting. I'm going to ask Deputy Chief John Smith to call the meeting to order. If you would, please remain standing for the pledge led by Commissioner Butts and the invocation by Commissioner Creek.
All rise, please. Oh yes, this Honorable Board of County Commissioners now in session pursuant to adjournment. May God save this state and His Honorable Board of County Commissioners.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you for your love and your watch care. We thank you for this legislative body and they're willing to serve us. And we just pray that you'll guide and direct us now as we go through this meeting, and let us respect each other when our views may differ. It says in the Bible, in Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. We thank you for our hero here this night. Brother Harville is an outstanding individual, and we just thank you for the opportunity that we have to recognize his service. Now just guide and direct us now. For in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would, please register your attendance. Ms. Cottrell, would you please read the attendance roll?
We have 21 present, 0 absent.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
If I could ask Mr. Joe Shekinab to come forward, please. Joe, did I get it right? I have a proclamation that I'd like to read. I'm sure many of you know Joe, have seen his face around Montgomery County for quite some time, but this is a proclamation by the county mayor. Whereas the Governor's Volunteer Stars Award is a statewide recognition program instituted by former Governor Phil Bredesen to honor and publicly recognize citizens from each county for their exemplary volunteer service to their community. And whereas Joe Shekinab has been awarded the honor as the 2017 Montgomery County recipient for his commitment and passion for the positive development of the youth in our community and for his support of the military veterans of Montgomery County. And whereas Joe has served as a dedicated youth mentor, volunteer, scholarship benefactor, and role model for students in and outside of the LEAP organization to help foster positive experience in academics, decision-making, and encourage community service and learning opportunities. And whereas Joe has also played an instrumental role in the development and success of the Montgomery County Veterans Coalition through mentorship, guidance, and financial support. And whereas Joe serves as president of the Austin Peay State University Military Alumni Chapter, where he has secured $65,000 in student scholarships. Additionally, Joe volunteers his time on various boards and committees, including past president and board of directors of LEAP, vice president of the APSU National Alumni Association, and vice president of the Montgomery County Veterans Coalition Board of Directors. And whereas Joe Shekinab truly has a passion to better the lives of our local youth as well as our military veterans. Now therefore I, Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, Tennessee, do hereby encourage all citizens to join me in recognizing Joe for his dedication and advocacy on behalf of the youth and veterans in our community. His volunteer spirit serves as an inspiration to all of us. Joe, thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Our first item of business tonight is our approval of the February 12th, 2018 minutes. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, is there a second? Commissioner Butts, any discussion on the minutes? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
We have 21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on our agenda are zoning resolutions. The first resolution is CZ3 2018, application of Generation Constructors, LLC from AG to C5. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Arnold Hodges, is there a second? Commissioner Jason Hodges, any discussion? Commissioner Butts.
Thank you, Mayor. This is in my district, and I would ask that the commissioners support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
We have 19 yeses, 2 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ4 2018, application George and Clemmy Gardner from M2 to AG. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Vallejo, second. Commissioner Johnson, any discussion on CZ4 2018? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. CZ5 2018, application of Staff Investments, LLC from AG to C5. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Jason Hodges, second. Commissioner Harper, any discussion on CZ5 2018? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. On to our resolutions. Resolution 1831, resolution to establish an annual training program for Montgomery County Board of Equalization members. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, second. Commissioner Keene, any discussion on 1831? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1832, resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2017-18 school budget. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Genus, second. Commissioner Albert, any discussion on 1832? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1833, resolution to implement the Jackson Law in Montgomery County, Tennessee regarding solid waste processing facilities. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Vallejos, second. Commissioner Nichols, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1834, resolution asking the legislative body of Tennessee to amend Private Acts 1979, Chapter 167 regarding hotel motel tax. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Nichols, is there a second? Commissioner Sokol, any discussion? Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I would like to make an amendment in the resolution section C and in the exhibit A section 3, or in the resolution section C and in the exhibit A section 3, I would like it to read as follows. This act shall have no effect unless it is approved in an election by a majority of those voting in an election in Montgomery County before October 1st, 2019. Its approval or non-approval shall be proclaimed by the presiding officer of the legislative body and certified to the Secretary of State. I spoke with the county attorney, and in essence, this will put this resolution and will put this project at this magnitude on the ballot for a referendum to be decided by the voters. Thank you.
We have a motion to amend and a second. Is there a second? Commissioner Gibbs is second. Okay, this will be, do you want to speak to the motion, to the amendment, Mr. Gannon?
I just want a clarification a little bit. Through the budget meeting and all the process, it is our intentions, and we have no plans on using any property tax at this point for the arena, for the multi-purpose event center.
That's correct. Yes, sir. We've stated that all along.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Redd?
Mayor, I believe, we are elected officials, and I believe in a representative government, but a project of this size, one report stated that this project would have, I think it was 25,000 square feet of skating ring, and I do not believe that the hotel motel tax alone will be able to pay for this. So, and before this conference center or event type center was put on the ballot in Montgomery County, and it was defeated 70-30, but there's no guarantee that a property tax in the future will not have to be used for this, or at least this will cause us to have to borrow the money. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Hodges, speaking to the amended resolution, to the amendment.
Understood. Yeah. So I just want to say we're not voting on the arena tonight or the multi-purpose event center. We're just voting on a hotel motel tax that could potentially fund it. So I hope you'd vote no to this. I don't think we're elected to make decisions, not to continuously ask for referendums. So thank you.
Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. I just concur actually with what Commissioner Hodges has stated. What we're looking at today is about a funding mechanism, and those are two different issues. I think they're being kind of commingled here. So, thank you.
Mr. Redd, Mr. Gannon, y'all both spoke. Does anybody else want to speak before I recognize the two gentlemen again? Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the resolution states that it will be used exclusively to pay for the cost, build, design, or acquire land for a multi-purpose event center. It's not, the resolution is not just for the funding mechanism. It's stating what it's going to be used for. And again, I don't think that this hotel motel tax will be near enough for that. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gannon.
Just another point of reference, Mayor. If we pass this tonight, then it goes to state legislator, and if it gets passed through there, then it will come back to us again for a second time to be ratified?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir.
Well, yeah, I guess if this amendment passed, it would just go straight to a referendum. Yeah. Correct. Commissioner Redd, do you have that in writing, your amendment?
I passed it to the clerk.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you good, Teresa?
We are, thank you.
Okay. No more discussion. We're now voting on the amendment to 1834. I won't state it. I think if I tried to, I don't think I'd get it right. But does anybody have any questions? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
3 yeses, 18 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. We're now voting on 1834. Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. Now that we're on the main question, I'd just like to say that concerning this resolution. We've been told that a hotel and a motel tax, it doesn't hurt anyone. And passing this tax would just hurt the visitors or whoever is visiting our city. So there's no harm and there's no foul. And while it's true that most of the tax will be paid by people who are not from here, that hotel and that motel is here. A tax increase of this sort can cause a visitor to stay perhaps one less day. You see, unlike government, people have a limited budget that they get to use. And if they're paying more in taxes to stay here, that might be one less time that they will go out to eat. The hotel may have to cut back on hours from its maid, or a restaurant may have to cut back on one of its servers. Maybe that server was going to buy a car. The car salesman may have to cut back. All tax increases have an effect. One publication stated that this event center will have a 25,000 square foot skating ring with 2 additional skating rings of 22,000 square feet each. This hotel tax increase is not going to be near enough for this project. The property tax increase cometh, and more debt. I read a publication the other day that says Americans will spend more on taxes than they do on food, clothing, and housing combined. That was by the Tax Foundation. They also said Americans must work from January 1st to April 24th just to pay their taxes. Jefferson was right. With government, it's never enough. Like all projects, we are told that this is sorely and badly needed. But in a capitalist system, there's a surefire way to know if something is needed. If it's needed, the private sector will provide for it. They'll make a profit, hire people, stimulate the economy, and then the taxpayers won't have to flip the bill. I believe we should let Mr. Entrepreneur worry about event centers, skating rinks, parks, Disney World, and on and on. I'm going to vote no because I believe that we are here for our school system, for EMS, and writing checks to the Sheriff's Department and other county agencies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Sokol.
Thank you, Mayor. With the creation of an event center, should bring in a lot of folks that will be paying that tax. If you provide enough entertainment, they will come. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's say our average hotel cost in Montgomery County is $100. We're talking a 3% raise, and that is $3 a night. I have a hard time thinking that the ramifications that Commissioner Redd mentioned will occur on a $3 difference on a hotel room for a night. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, we have a motion and a second.
Yes, we do.
We have a motion and a second. If you would, please register your vote. Commissioner Albert? I ain't fussing at you for talking, you just hadn't voted yet. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
19 yeses, 2 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1835, resolution authorizing the purchase of an X-ray scanner for the historic courthouse. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Butts, second. Commissioner Tooley. Any discussion on 1835? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1836, resolution approving and authorize the county mayor to undertake efforts to name a segment of Highway 41A South to Edgar Harrell Highway. I want to say thanks to Commissioner Harper and Representative Pitts and Representative Johnson for taking this and carrying it. And Mr. Harper, I would like to give you the honor to introduce someone that would like to just say a few words to us about this.
I'd be more than happy to. It is my distinct pleasure to have Mr. Harrell as well as his wife and his son here tonight. And I think Mr. Harrell wanted to address us for a few moments. And I greatly appreciate him being here. And we're honored.
And thank you so much, so much. I indeed am so thankful and grateful for this honor that you are paying to me, but may I say I desire to pass it on to 880 of my shipmates that were not as fortunate as I was. If you know the story, I was a Marine Guard that picked up a little boy July 16, 1945. 10 days later, we had traveled 5,300 miles. We delivered our cargo to our B-29 base on the 26th of July. But on the night of July the 30th, about 14 minutes past midnight, we encountered a Jap sub. Commander Hoshimoto fired a spread of 6 torpedoes, hit us with 2. The ship went down in 12 minutes. There were 1,197 of us aboard. Maybe 900 of us got in the water. The Navy lost us, really lost us. 4.5 days later, there were only 317 that had endured the sharks in 110-degree weather, and 317 survived. Of those 317, there are 17 of us still living today. Of the 9 Marines that survived, I'm the last Marine still standing, and I thank you so kindly for this opportunity and for the honor that you pay, not just me, but yes, the USS Indianapolis. And when you build a freeway around Clarksville, you can do as they've done in Indianapolis, Indiana. USS Indianapolis Freeway. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Harper, second. Commissioner Baggett. Any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think anybody wants to change their vote, so I'm not going to ask for it. Ms. Cottrell, if you would, please tally the vote.
21 yeses, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1837, resolution to appropriate funds to make certain immediate improvements to the public safety training complex. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Gannon, second. Commissioner Sokol, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change your vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1838, resolution to establish land purchase guidelines as internal operating rule of the Montgomery County Commission as recommended by the Rules Committee. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone, is there a second? Commissioner Jason Hodges, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on our agenda are reports. Ms. Cottrell, would you please read the clerk's report?
Comes Teresa Cottrell, Chief Deputy Clerk, on behalf of Kelly A. Jackson, County Clerk, Montgomery County, Tennessee, and presents the County Clerk's report for the month of February 2018. I hereby request that the persons named on the list of new applicants to the office of Notary Public be elected. The oaths of the Sheriff's Department, Judicial Commissioners, and Deputy County officials are approved as taken. This report shall be spread up on the minutes of the Board of County Commissioners this the 12th day of March 2018. You've received your list of notaries last week. There were none that needed to be signed by personal sureties, and there were no names to be read on the minutes for bond purposes.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion for approval for the clerk's report? Commissioner Creek, is there a second? Commissioner Garland Johnson, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
21 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you. Airport Authority Liaison Committee update. Did we do that at informal? I don't think we did we? Commissioner Sokol?
No, we didn't, Mayor, because the Airport Authority did not meet in February, but we did on March 7th.
Okay. You want to give us a quick update?
Well, they called the committee together. They reviewed the previous minutes, and they also did a presentation on the audit that was done with no findings. So we're clear on that. They also did a November financial statement and a December financial statement, and we're in good shape. The airport business is up about 75%, and meeting room funding, or the revenue that's gained through the renting of the rooms upstairs, is up by 12%. Every 5 years, there's a consultant that's required to advise the airport on the best business practices and use of the airport. They had 6 competitors submit, and this year they're looking at one particular business, but that has not been approved yet. The runway expansion and redevelopment is underway. Hopefully that'll be taken care of in the next few months. Other than that, the airport and the finances to the airport are very good.
Thank you, Commissioner Sokol. Good report. All right, you'll see under your reports filed, the ones in bold are new. Under County Mayor nominations and appointments without objection, I'll ask for these in one motion. The Airport Authority Liaison Committee, Commissioner Ed Baggett nominated to replace Commissioner Ron Sokol for a 2-year term to expire March 2020. Commissioner Jason Hodges nominated to serve another 2-year term expiring March 2020, and Commissioner Tommy Vallejos nominated to serve another 2-year term to expire March 2020. Judicial Commissioner Joe Papastathis, part-time employee, has been filling an unexpired term and is now eligible to serve his first full 1-year term to expire March 2019. And under County Mayor appointments, under Fire Chief, Ed Baggett was previously, unfortunately, in error appointed as interim Fire Chief in January 2018. This appointment is to formally appoint Ed Baggett as Fire Chief for Montgomery County, Tennessee, until further notice. And again, I'll take the nominations and appointments all under one motion. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Genus, second. Commissioner Gannon, any discussion? If you would, please register your vote. What's that mean? Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Cottrell, would you please tally the vote?
20 yeses, 0 noes, and 1 abstention.
All right. Commissioners, under our announcements, we don't have any on the agenda, but I think some folks have asked Deputy Chief Smith if he could speak to the recent rash of burglaries and vandalism that's occurred. So, Chief, The mic's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. You had a request from the commission to one of the commissioners to address. There was a rash of burglaries and vandalisms in one of the neighborhoods in North Clarksville this morning, or actually this past weekend. And you know, it's a particular violation when someone is a victim of crime at their residence. And the request is, you know, what can people do to help protect themselves? And I'm sure you as commissioners get these phone calls from people in your district. And just like we tell people when they're out and about, you want to avoid the opportunity to be a victim of crime. You know, we tell people if you got to go to the mall, go during the daytime. If you have to go at night, make sure you park near an entrance or under a street light. And for those of you that carry purses, do so with a short, sorry, a leash, but a short handle so you can keep it tightly under your arms. But then at your residence, you know, that's your castle, that's your little kingdom, and you don't think about being a victim there. But, you know, what are some of the things you can do? People that get their cars broken into, we find often the people that don't lock their doors. So lock the doors on your car. Now, in this particular case, people were just bashed in windows and they were grabbing things that they saw. So don't have things in your car that someone is going to perceive to be valuable. Even those that take their smartphones or their iPods out of their car, they don't think to remove that cord that plugs into the car, because people see a cord, they think there's an iPod next to it. So little things like that. Also, people typically are not bold enough to walk up close to a residence. So we tell people to pull your car up into your driveway, up close to your house. Most people don't want to creep up to the house and create noise and be startled. Things like motion lights. You know, what happens if you go into somewhere and you open the door up, roaches scurry when they see light. Same thing with criminals. So if you have motion lights, they'll go off and people will usually run away. So those are things, some of the things that you can do to help take away the opportunity to be a victim of crime. Also think about utilizing timers inside your residence if you're not going to be home, to randomly turn on and turn off lights to give the impression that you're there. We sometimes say that we are not our brother's keeper, but yet when you live in neighborhoods, keep an eye out on your neighbor's property. Growing up, I used to watch this show called Bewitched, and I think it was Miss Kravitz or something, the nosy neighbor that lived across the street, knew everything was going on. That's not such a bad thing. I live in a cul-de-sac, and I'll get a phone call or a text message if someone stops by my house, or, you know, one of my family members stops by, lets my dog out if I can't make it there. So I'll get a phone call. I'll get a text message of somebody's car there. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. So neighborhood watches, trying to do the things to prevent yourself from being a victim of crime are all good things to share with your constituents if you were to get a phone call. I do have some material, and I was going to get them to Debbie. She can add to your drop boxes. That way you've got something in your hands you can share with your constituents as well.
Thank you, Chief. If you start twitching your nose, I'm going to get worried, especially if the lights go out. I'll call on Chief Deputy John Smith to adjourn us.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. All rise. Oh, yes, oh, yes. This Honorable Board of County Commissioners now stands adjourned. May God save this state and its Honorable Board of County Commissioners.